What's going on, movie fans? I'm John.
And I'm Rossi, and this is Movie Lovers Unite, the podcast where your favorite films come to life.
Every week, we deep dive into the movies you love, from cult classics and guilty pleasures to the latest in theaters and streaming.
We're talking reviews, reactions, heated debates, top 5 lists, and interviews with filmmakers, actors, and fellow fans.
Whether you're a casual viewer or a hardcore cinephile,
we've got something for you, with laughs, hot takes, and plenty of popcorn-worthy moments.
New episodes drop every week on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your fix.
So grab your snacks, press play, and join the conversation, because the movie talk is just getting started.
Welcome to Zombie Strains, the podcast where we watch all of the zombie movies in order. This episode, an MST3K special, 1963's Monstrosity.
You know, I've seen people act like that in pictures. What do they call them? Zombies or something?
Zombie. What's a zombie?
Just what is a zombie?
Well, a zombie, there's, Mr. Bill is... The living dead.
They are the living dead.
Get into zombies.
He's a zombie.
Because a zombie has no will of his own.
It's an army of zombies no armies could stand.
What is wrong? What is wrong?
Welcome to Zombie Strains. I am, as ever, John.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Brad.
Hello, producer Brad. How are we doing today?
Good. Can I just say it's genuinely remarkable to me that in the space of 1 month, we have gone from a Criterion Collection all-time classic film to this, and we're still in the same genre. Unironically, that is remarkable to me.
Yeah, and we have Andy and I had a mutual friend who listens to the podcast, and he doesn't watch every movie, but he decided to watch Carnival of Souls, and he just was posting about it endlessly, about how great he thought it was. And so, sorry to disappoint you, Joel, if you're listening to this one. You don't have to watch Monstrosity.
I had a different friend
not to tip our hand.
I had a different friend tell me he watched Carnival of Souls, and he was like, "I think you guys might be suffering from Stockholm syndrome."
Oh, he's so wrong about that. You know what I've discovered? I don't consider myself particularly educated about movies and film, and I'm trying to learn more. That's part of this podcast, but like I know what the Criterion Collection is, even if I don't own any Blu-rays. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mentioned that just offhand to somebody, and they're like, "What? The what collection?" I'm like, you know what? Never mind. So
that's great.
All right. Well, today we're talking about Monstrosity. We can't avoid it forever, but before we do that, do we want to talk about any zombie-related or movie-related stuff we got going on? I have a couple things.
I don't have much zombie-related stuff outside this podcast going on at the moment, to my deep regret. How about you, John?
Well, I got a couple things. So I'm going to show this to my co-host, but you guys won't be able to see it. It's a box set of little zombie figurines.
Oh, wow.
There's 5 of them. My daughter purchased them for me, and they're like 4 inches tall, and you can take them apart. Like their heads come off, and then they're interchangeable, so you can put the head from one zombie on a different zombie.
Whoa!
And the arms and legs come off. Yeah, they're pretty great. So,
what were they released for? What is this, part of a product line?
No, it's
or
like a general. I think they're English. No, they're made in China. BOH Toys. It's some off brand. But it does say zombie in 5 languages on the back. So. You can. There you go. There's the picture on the back. Figuras de zombies. In any case, so that was delightful. And then I got a subscription to, speaking of, the Criterion Channel last week. It was only $10.99, and there are 3. So I don't know if anybody knows about the Criterion Channel. I assume most of you do. If you don't, that's okay. The way they do it is that it's not like Netflix where they have a huge library. They have a curated selection of films. They have some permanent films, but mostly it's about, for the next 3 months, this is what we've got. So the next 3 months is film noir, things like, The Big Sleep was on there, which is the first movie I watched. And then on top of that, they have Howard Hawks directed films. And then the third thing was Hong Kong action movies. So John Woo, basically, all the John Woo films. So I was like, okay, I'm in. You can have me for a month. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
And it's not that much. It's like $11 for a month. So I'm not going to complain.
All right. Contact us, Criterion Collection, for a sponsorship opportunity.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. The next one, first one's free, Criterion. This one, just like Tubi. We're waiting for Tubi to call back.
That's right.
We're now waiting for Criterion to call back as well. So how about you, producer Brad? Anything good?
I am watching Pluribus and Apple, and I've only seen one episode, so I don't know what genre it is, but I think it's interesting.
All right.
And then along the lines of us talking about low-budget, crappy movies, I watched a really high-budget movie recently, which is crappy. I watched Howard the Duck, if you remember that.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's famously disastrous.
Yeah,
right?
what was the inspiration?
I saw it online. I hadn't seen it in years. And I go, it can't be as bad as I remember it. And
it is,
it
isn't
was.
it?
It was bad.
Oh, dear.
It was really bad.
I think that about Ghostbusters 2 once every 5 years. I'm like, it can't be that bad, right? I can't be what I remembered it. And then I watch it and it's like, oh yeah, that's horrific.
I'd put up Howard the Duck versus Ghostbusters 2. And
You
I
think
would
so?
win. I would win.
All right, that's some tight competition.
All right.
Tell you.
We'll have it. That'll be our next podcast. We'll have
That's right.
a watch off between terribly fondly remembered films. So, all right. Well, let's talk about 1963's Monstrosity. Brad, do you want to kick us off and tell us how this thing was unleashed on the world?
Of course. So Monstrosity, also known as The Atomic Brain, was released in September of 1963 by Emerson Film Enterprises. At least that's when IMDb listed as the release date. Decades later, the film's producer, Jack Pollexfen, remembered Monstrosity's coming out in 1964.
Okay.
Pollexfen also said the movie was shot in 1958 with a budget of $40,000, but the production company ran out of money and they had to stop halfway. And they spent years trying to fix it with editing. And as we witnessed, I don't think they succeeded.
Wow.
He said everything went wrong while making this film, and it was the only film he worked on that didn't make any money.
Huh.
Okay.
Emerson Film Enterprises released mostly exploitation and horror films. Manos, The Hands of Fate, is one of Emerson's most infamous releases and is often
Oh my goodness.
Do you know that film?
Yeah, from Mystery Science Theater 3K.
Yes, and is often listed as one of the worst movies ever made.
It doesn't have zombies. Tell me it doesn't have zombies in it.
I haven't
Please.
seen it, Andy.
I don't even remember.
Okay.
I'm sure we could shoehorn it into this podcast if we needed to.
No, I'm saying let's not. I'm saying don't. I'm saying
Well, to give you an idea of other films that Emerson released, they had titles like The Touchables, Dr. Playgirl, How to Succeed with Girls, and The Sex Terminators, which is from 1970. So it's not a ripoff of The Terminator.
Wow. Okay.
So The Terminator is a ripoff of that movie.
That's
Is that
what I'm
you're
hearing.
saying?
Yeah.
Well, I looked it up. The Sex Terminators is set in a world where procreation is policed and one man goes rogue and wants to have as much sex as he can.
Got to take one for the team. I get it.
This is as good a time, Danny, to mention this is a very exploitative film that really does any excuse it can to put women in their underwear. So anyway, carry on.
Joseph V. Miskelly directed. This is his only film as director.
Shocking.
At some point during the film, the producer Pollexfen fired Miskelly, and he then finished the film as director, but it was uncredited. Miskelly does have 6 credits as cinematographer, and one of these films is on our list, and it's coming up.
Don't spoil it. I don't want to know.
It's coming up real quick. Miskelly was a cinematographer for the U.S. Army during World War II. After the war, he continued as a civilian cinematographer and was hired by the Air Force. IMDb credits Miskelly as a cinematographer for the aerial footage of the first hydrogen bomb test on Bikini Atoll.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
In 1965, Miskelly wrote a book called The 5 C's of Cinematography. It is a highly regarded book that teaches the classic techniques of cinematography, and it is still read today.
And he started here.
I mean, is it based on like having the camera just ogle scantily clad women? Is that like what the book is about?
I hope the book talks about being in focus because there's so many shots in this film where the focus was not present.
I actually had to backtrack once. I'm like, wait, is that simply, did they just not focus the shot? There's this whole scene. Anyway.
Here, I thought that was like some sort of artistic choice. So you guys are disillusioning me on this masterpiece.
Well, when the wall is in focus and the people in the foreground are not, I think that's not the way it's supposed to be. Monstrosity has 3 credited writers, 2 of whom are women. Vi Russell and Sue Dwiggins have only 4 credits each, all on the same movies and TV shows. And as an example of how low budget this movie is, both have multiple credits on Monstrosity. Sue was also the script supervisor and assistant camera, and both Vi and Sue did the wardrobe and props. This was the last film credit for Vi. Sue continued to work in production as a production coordinator and production secretary on many well-known films like The French Connection, Deliverance, Slapshot, and E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
Okay, wow. That's amazing.
Some people can escape.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, this is only the second film we have watched that was written by a woman. Do you guys remember the first and only other film?
No. I was going to make a wild guess, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I can't guess either.
I'll give you a hint. We've had two really exploitive films.
Maniac
from
No.
1934.
Whoa.
Oh, you're kidding.
Hildegard Stady wrote that. Her husband was the director, if you recall.
Oh, okay. Yes. That comes back to me now.
I feel so uncomfortable having just learned that. I'm sorry.
Well, I think in the margins of the industry is where people find opportunity sometimes, unfortunately.
Yes, yeah.
Dean Dillman was the third writer, and Monstrosity is his only writing credit.
How many writers? I mean, this movie had multiple writers. My mind is a little boggled right now. So sorry, carry on.
That's a good question, and there is a Blu-ray out there for this film, and there's some documentaries. I don't have access to it, but maybe there's some information there. We can look it up.
I should have checked the Criterion channel before joining our recording session.
Yes.
Gene Cower composed the music. He has 49 composer credits, many in the low-budget world, but he also did the music for the Gumby TV show. Well, he's listed as some of the episodes, not all, and all three Faces of Death movies. How's that for a spectrum?
Congratulations.
I did note that this soundtrack leans into the bassoon a whole lot. So
It feels like you're watching a cartoon with people in it based on the soundtrack. It's very strange.
Yeah, every time I hear bassoon, I think Andy now.
Yeah.
Alfred Taylor was the cinematographer. The last film he did was in 1988, and I'm sure you've heard of it, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
I saw that on the write-up. Yes, that was a before... I don't know. I feel like I'm about to sound like an old man, which I probably do all the time anyway. But like before people intentionally made bad movies, we just had bad movies. And this felt like it was intentionally bad, but also, I don't know, it was just such a cult classic. I remember watching it.
Now, over the course of the 40 movies we have watched, spanning 1932 to 1963, we have seen and commented a lot about the mad scientist labs and the repeating tropes of arcing electricity and Tesla coils.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we just stumbled onto the man responsible for much of this.
Whoa.
Really?
I
saw that too. Sorry.
That's all right. Ken Strickfaden designed and built Dr. Frankenstein's lab for the 1931 Frankenstein.
Oh.
He then did the lab for Bride of Frankenstein. He did Flash Gordon, and he did The Wizard of Oz. For over 50 years, his equipment was used in films for futuristic and mad scientist labs. It is Strickfaden's equipment that makes up the mad scientist lab in Monstrosity. In the 70s, Mel Brooks used Strickfaden's equipment for Young Frankenstein to recreate the original.
That's amazing. Rank this guy up with the guy who has the gorilla suit.
Exactly.
Movie, right? The guy who has the mad scientist lab equipment. That's amazing.
Ben Burt, the sound designer for Star Wars, went to Strickfaden to record his electrical equipment and then sprinkled these sounds throughout The Empire Strikes Back, The Return of the Jedi, and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Amazing.
You can hear the effects when the Ark of the Covenant is opened in Raiders and the Emperor's Force lightning bolts in Return of the Jedi.
Huh.
And in the show notes, I've added a link to a short YouTube documentary on Strickfaden.
Oh, cool.
All right, on to the cast. Marjorie Eaton plays the villain, Mrs. March.
Our favorite Marjorie Eaton.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you remember where we saw her from, Andy?
Zombies of Moratau. She was grandma.
Yes, and she is the subject of Brad's greatest trivia delivery so far in this podcast.
Yes.
I suppose you could deliver it again, but it wouldn't count.
Well, it's the only fact I brought up because it's worth it. Her biggest claim is she is one of two women filmed wearing special effects makeup to portray the Emperor in The Empire Strikes Back.
That's right.
Well, I will just say in both of the films we have watched her in, she has just like this core of steel to her personality. She would have been a really intimidating real life grandma, I think.
I think so. She's a good villain, which she is in this movie.
Frank Gerstle plays the mad scientist, Dr. Frank. We saw him in The Four Skulls of Jonathan Drake. He was a police forensic scientist in that film.
You said at that time that he was like the science guy, and I recognized him immediately as like the science guy.
I don't know if you noticed, but I think in their efforts to fix the film, they kept flipping the frames because he has this diagonal scar on his forehead. Sometimes it's on the right, sometimes it's on the left.
That's a good catch. I did not see that.
I didn't catch that either. Yeah.
He is the most accomplished actor in the cast with over 200 credits.
He's a total pro in this. I just like to say, As the film is stinking up the place around him, you do not see him holding his nose.
He definitely has an aura of like, I'm the only professional on this set.
Though I would say, except Marjorie Eaton, who I found delightful as well. So
yeah, she's great. Erica Peters plays Nina. She was born in Germany, and after moving to the U.S., she tried to make money by importing used Volkswagens. She would buy VWs new in Germany, drive them to a ship, have them delivered to the U.S., and at customs declared them used.
this is an old trick, by the way, and car dealers are doing it again. Can I talk for 10 seconds about this trick? So during the Second World War in particular, there was a rule about there were so few cars because all manufacturing had gone to the military industrial complex that the government put strict guidelines on how much you can sell a new car for, right? So you couldn't exploit users. So what car salesmen would do is buy a new car, drive it around the block, call it used, and double the price. So anyway, this is an old saw from
that is incredible.
Coming from car dealers, who would have thought? Sorry, carry on.
Well, that's right. And because she wasn't a car dealer, didn't have a license, she was forced to stop that business.
I read a little about her. She's actually pretty dynamic. Like she fled, she was German and fled the Red Army and ended up in the U.S. Her story could make a movie, actually.
She is a pretty neat woman. She then did a lot of fundraising and activism for animal rights.
Yes.
Huh.
All right, John, for you, Judy Bamber plays Bee.
Hold on a second. Are you about to tell me what I think you're going to tell me? That she's the mother of Apollo?
No.
Okay.
What?
Jamie Bamber played Apollo in Battlestar Galactica, and her last name was Bamber. I got excited.
Well, no, because my next sentence would clear that up for you. She was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Okay.
And as I recall, Jamie Bamber is British.
He is. And she plays a British person, though, right?
Yes, but her accent does change throughout.
Yeah, she's not British, clearly.
Yeah, I watched this on YouTube, and the first comment on the YouTube video I watched was, the English woman's accent, we go from Essex to Whitechapel to Brisbane with dizzying speed. So I don't know anything about British accents, but I'm guessing it wasn't super authentic.
Yeah, she's actually the same age as my mother, or was. But my mother has passed away, and I assume she has as well. But yes, they were both born in 1936, though my mother was not born in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
No, and she did modeling in Detroit, then moved to Hollywood. She was a pinup. She has 15 acting credits over 6 years. And Roger Corman's A Bucket of Blood is her most memorable. She had a small role in that.
Huh.
Now, the only other actor in this film who has a lot of credits is the narrator, Bradford Dillman.
Yes.
This narrator who does most of the work of this movie.
Yeah.
And you guys have probably seen him before without knowing it. He did have a long acting career starting in 1955 and lasting until the 90s when he made several appearances on Murder, She Wrote. But he was in 2 Dirty Harry movies, The Enforcer and Sudden Impact, both times playing the police captain who berates Harry and his methods. And to help remind you, I'll play a clip of Harry and Bradford Dillman from Sudden Impact.
You're a dinosaur, Callahan. Your ideas don't fit today.
Just what ideas are these? That murder is a crime, that it shouldn't be punished?
Hey, don't you lecture me, you son of a bitch. You know who you're talking to? You know my record?
Yeah. You're a legend in your own mind.
Ah, classic.
Now, in those 2 films, he played different characters. So he was brought back to recreate the captain's role, but as a different person.
That's amazing. Just as an aside, I watched The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly with my son last night. Clint Eastwood at 35 is just such a shock now.
Versus 95?
Yeah, versus 95. Still going. Him and Shatner, both 95, still going.
Oh, man.
Well, we noticed on the poster that the cat had a credit as Xerxes, but the actual name is Xerxes.
I was going to say it's Xerxes. When I read it again, I was like, that has to be Xerxes. Because he's named after the Poison King, right, Andy? Xerxes, the Poison King of Persia? Sorry, carry on.
Sure.
I was trying to go history with Andy, and he just gave me a blank look. So carry on.
Sorry, giving you a dead-eyed stare.
Well, Xerxes was Judy Bamber's cat, so it was owned by the actress.
Oh, all right.
Nice. I had a cat that looked just like Xerxes in this film.
Now, you mentioned Monstrosity. Oh, we should also mention that in the course of doing the research for this film, we discovered that there is an Internet Movie Cat database.
Yes.
So, which was awesome. I'll put that in the show notes.
And it's delightful. Like, for example, if their review or their discussion of the cat in the movie has spoilers, they give it the cat out of the bag warning. I strongly encourage everybody to go to Cat Movie Database.
Were there any like tidbits about this cat? Or not really?
Not really, no.
Okay. It's just a cat that
I'm
showed
curious
up in
what
this
the
movie.
first cat to get an actual credit is, because this cat has a credit on the poster.
Well, I did check. They do have Maniac on their list. So they go
Okay.
back to 1934.
I'm still a little bit worried about the well-being of that cat from Maniac, but
Yeah.
You mentioned Monstrosity was featured on Mystery Science Theater 3000. It was not listed in the top 100 episodes, so the creators were not pleased with their efforts in this one.
Oh.
There was a musical made of this film called The Atomic Brain, and it's similar in style to The Little Shop of Horrors. I couldn't find any evidence of it being produced. There's just a website where you can access the score and the script.
So hang on. So was this a musical made like that ironically presented this, or did it do it like with a straight face?
Well, because it's described as Little Shop of Horrors, I have to assume it's sort of...
It's a comedy.
It's a comedy.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. That would be the correct way to do this movie on the stage, but yes.
Now, this movie is not in the Criterion collection, but the YouTube version we watched looked really good, didn't it?
It
Yeah,
did,
it did.
actually. I didn't think about it until you just said it, but it looked very clean. No like pops or anything.
Turns out in 2018, there was a Kickstarter campaign to fund a 4K restoration of this.
Why?
And the same guy who did it also did Manos, The Hand of Fate.
Wow.
And so that's why there's a Blu-ray out for this. It's from that campaign.
Could I just apologize for something I just did? I was just judging people for wanting to make a Blu-ray or a 4K restoration of this, and here I am watching it and talking about it on a podcast. So let me just take all of that back.
I mean, I am still judging those people, so yeah, I don't know.
I think it's neat that there are people out there who like to preserve
Yes.
Yeah,
good
for
and
sure.
bad, and because everything's part of the history, and we should know it.
Yeah,
Yes,
for sure.
I agree. That's why we're doing this podcast. So there you go.
That's what I have, guys.
That is great. Andy, do we want to do... I feel like we don't need a historical context this
I
week.
don't think so. This one is a little muddled historically, filmed in the 50s, released in the 60s. I don't think we're going to get a lot out of talking about historical events. So let's just skip that for now. Refer you back to our recent episode on the 1960s for the sorts of themes and questions we'll be looking at. I don't really know if those are going to apply to this one, which feels like a child of the 50s to me.
Yeah. In fact, what we'll do is when we get to the end and we have the questions about the 50s, I'm still going to ask that set because this really feels like a 50s movie.
I think so, yeah.
Next week, we came up with, if you listened to the last episode, Andy and I came up with, or really Andy, let's be honest, came up with some questions about the 1960s and how movies will change. So we'll kick those off next week. With our next film, which I don't know the name of yet because producer Brad doesn't tell us.
Yeah, stay tuned to the end of this episode where we all
That's
learn
right.
together.
All right. Anything else we got to do before? Well, Andy, do you want to do a 60-second summary before we get into the details here?
I'll do my best. So, Monstrosity is a film about a sinister old woman. And here I just want to call out our earlier discussion from a few episodes ago about the hagsploitation genre.
That was on my mind.
Yes, this is filmed in the 50s, released in 1963 when the hagsploitation genre got its start. Feels very comfortably set in that genre.
Right.
At any rate, we have the sinister Mrs. March. Mrs. March is employing a mad scientist in the basement of her mansion. She wishes to be reborn into the body of a beautiful young woman in the prime of her life. Dr. Frank is the mad scientist she's employing, and he thinks he's pretty close to being able to transplant the brain of one human into the body of another. However, his experiments to date have not been 100% successful, shall we say. And so this is the movie of three beautiful young women hired to work at the March Mansion. But unbeknownst to them, they are candidates for who will be the body that Mrs. March is transplanted into. Will they realize their predicament in time to escape? Or will they become the next incarnation of the evil and greedy Mrs. March? Listen on to find out. Did I miss anything crucial in my overview there?
No, Mrs. March is played by Marjorie Easton, who we talked about at the very top, and she's a delightful villain. She is
a great villain. Yes. Like this might be her natural. I mean, I appreciated her role in Zombies of Moratau as a not hero exactly, but as a sort of wise but very pragmatic old person. I thought that was a pretty good role for her, but I think she comes into her own as just a huge jerk in this movie.
So thank you for that summary, Andy. Before we get into it, we haven't been doing trigger warnings lately. We may bring them back when the movies get especially gross, but I did want to mention this. It is a pretty exploitative. It's an exploitation movie, right? The goal of this film is to show attractive women in as little clothes as they can get away with, right? So there's points where there's like these, those bands that they use to hold Frankenstein on the table. There's women undergoing an atomic process to transfer their brains or whatever, and they're nude except for those bands covering their privates, stuff like that, and just excuses to get women to undress. That's what this movie is about. Though you made an interesting point during our little pre-show, which is that it's actually fully aware of the predicament of women in society. Like Mrs. March is like, I at one point is like I want people to find me attractive. Nobody listens to me. Nobody cares about me anymore because I'm an old woman. So I'm taking advantage of these young women to become important and special again. So it has this dual awareness of the sort of misogyny and sexism of society, but then it's also like, hey, let's just be a misogynist movie.
I'm glad you brought that up, John. I think it's a really interesting point that it is often really hard to disentangle trashy exploitative films from films that like have I would say kind of progressive awareness, self-awareness of what they're doing and the themes that they're talking about. So like you say, this is a movie that talks about like very legitimate themes, like the how Hollywood treats women who age and how society looks at women who age and how we value women based on their appearance. These are all interesting themes. They would be really good subject matter for a serious film, but instead we're seeing that subject matter handled by a film that also wants you to ogle these attractive women in various states of undress. So, is this like a clever, self-aware movie that is talking about themes that are kind of ahead of its time? Maybe yes. Is it a trashy piece of garbage that just wants you to look at these at women's skin? Like, also yes. So
I would say the first one is a maybe, this one is a probably.
Yeah. So I mean, I have a feeling if we were to look at, not all of the movies we've watched, most of them have not been exploitation movies, but I have a feeling if you explored the history of exploitation film, you would find an uncomfortable balance between awareness of these serious themes and also at the same time that you were being invited to join these films at the bottom of the barrel, right?
Yeah.
I also wonder if you have a company that makes exploitation films, hires two women to write it. They say, yes, we'll make you your exploitation film. But then they sneak in this other point of view about what really happens to women.
You could be right about that. And the director who has no tone for this just missed it, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, what do you do with a film like this? I mean, I think you could make a case that this film is subverting its own tropes.
Right.
I think you could also make a case that this film is just wallowing in those tropes. And I don't know enough about the history of this type of film to say which is which. I'm going to lean on the side of this film mostly wants to wallow in the tropes, but it is undeniable that there is some intelligence behind some of these themes.
Yeah, and I think, not to look too far ahead, throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I think we're going to run into characters of strong women who are also treated, who are treated misogynistically and these complex competing ideas. When we get into slasher films,
yes,
like this
absolutely.
is like the highlight of this is like the pinnacle of this, like women behaving in an independent way and suffering for it after we see them in their underwear, right? So this is here to stay, but it's interesting that it's so prominent in this movie.
Yes, and I mean this is the most salacious film we have seen since Maniac.
I think so too. Yeah, and it's not like we're not a bunch of prudes. It's not like full nudity or awkward or anything. It's just the intention of the film is to be exploited.
Yeah, I mean this is PG, right?
Yes.
By any modern standard, for sure.
This is Tuesday night TV,
right? But compared to mainstream movies of the time, it's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
So let's stop teasing our audience, John. You're going to lead the discussion for Monstrosity. Do you want to get us started on the actual film?
Well, so it opens with a monologue. We see Dr. Frank, who we heard about at the beginning of this film, and he's conducting an experiment on a corpse that he's dug up of a beautiful young woman. And there is a narration that tells us everything that's going on, including things like it's trying to sort of scare the audience. At one point it mentions like the first artificial organs have started to be used. And in fact, this doctor's going to transplant a brain into somebody. And this is happening right now. And you don't even know it's going on. Like it's this huge paranoia and fear of science. And it has that same sort of documentary feel that like almost, I think we talked about with like Plan 9 from Outer Space, where it's trying to say like, this is almost real. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It reminds me, I think when we covered Dr. Blood's Coffin, we talked about the history of organ transplants.
Yes.
And I think it's worth noting that was a pretty new and maybe scary concept to people who are watching this film in 1963.
And this film is certainly trying to scare people about it.
For sure, yes.
Yeah. The intro also talks about how they use an atomic process to transfer the brain. They don't really, it's a little hand wavy. They drop the dead body into a vat and it comes back up a skeleton. But the Dr. Frank at the end of this realizes, and I almost clipped some of this narration, but it's so long. I have another clip that has a little narration in it later that I'll play for everybody.
This narrator, I mean, so after about the first 10 minutes of the film, the narrator mostly drops into the background. However, for the first 10 minutes, it is like 99% narration. And like, I don't know if this was an artifact of like the trying to edit this into coherent film. They realized they simply had to narrate this or people wouldn't understand what was happening. But this is a tell, not show film.
Yes, exactly.
Andy, how is the narrator's grammar?
He did fine because they weren't trying to do any sort of fancy documentary style approach. They didn't twist themselves into a knot the way that past narrators have done.
Yes.
In particular, you're talking about Invisible Invaders.
Yeah, Invisible Invaders. Yes. And Plan 9 from Outer Space, I believe, also fell into this trap.
Yes, 100%. So, well, because his experiment didn't work, he needs more subjects. So what do? You go grave robbing, right?
And hey, John, why was his experiment not working?
Oh, I don't know. Why was his experiment
Well,
not
this
working?
is something I feel like we've seen in other films. Maybe I'm pretty sure we've seen it in The Frozen Dead, which is later than this film.
Mm-hmm.
But his experiments are failing because the human brain begins to deteriorate instantly upon death.
Okay.
And so even if the corpses he's getting are only like a day old, the brain has already started to go.
Okay. All right. So this will be the justification for needing a live person.
That's right. Exactly.
So it's clear that this is like a whole atomic thing, and he has to wear this huge radiation suit.
Yes, he does.
Which I just have a quick question. Yet his subject doesn't, and so I don't know how their body doesn't get completely destroyed and irradiated. But we're not. The movie doesn't care.
Are you suggesting that the writers of this film did not adhere to the highest standards of consistency and scientific accuracy, John?
Yes. I am.
Okay.
So we go grave robbing. And he's got to find a new body, which he does. However, he's almost caught by the night watchman. The narrator's telling us all this about the poor night watchman who's 60 years old, and he just tucked into a quiet corner to get a drink, and then I
felt for this guy. I just got to say,
I did too. And so our doctor is like opening a crypt to get his new find out, but he has a guard that we didn't know about before. What happens to the night watchman, Andy?
Well, when the night watchman starts to follow the sounds he's hearing of someone breaking into the crypt of another beautiful young woman's corpse, he is attacked by someone I referred to in my notes as the dog man.
Yes.
Maybe you could stretch this and call him a werewolf, but he's a person with some genuine makeup on his face to make him look like a dog or a wolf.
Which is interesting because what has happened to him, we find out later, is that they took a dog's brain and transplanted it into his body, which doesn't explain why his teeth got sharper and he now has facial hair like a wolf.
Yes.
So it's a great question. But back at the house.
Yeah, can I just say, so like in a minute, we're going to learn that this dog man is one of the doctors. They describe it as a failure, although I would say from like a purely scientific perspective, this is a pretty remarkable
I was going to say.
But this is a failure, but he's kept this dog man around because he obeys the scientist slavishly.
Yes. Yep. So they get a body. They kill the night watchman, poor guy. They go back to the house. And this is where we learn that Mrs. March has invited some women to come stay with her. And she's pretty obvious about the whole thing. She has a sidekick named Victor, who's not really her husband, but is like helping her do things because she's in a wheelchair.
I thought he was her husband.
Yeah, but I think it's like a marriage of convenience. I'm not sure.
Sure.
So we've got Mrs. March, Victor, and Dr. Frank. Those are the three sort of main people. And they've invited these three women. And she's just very explicit about like, I need photos of these women. I need to see what they're like, so I can, so that I can choose which body I want. But they've invited them here to essentially to care for Mrs. March. That's how they lured them. So there's one from, I think they say Norway, though that's Nina, and she's German. Then there's one from England and one from Spain, I think, though she might be from Mexico.
Yes. So
from Mexico.
A couple things. First of all, I just went through my employer's annual sexual harassment training, and I think they could have just shown a clip of Mrs. March reviewing job applicants based on their appearance.
Yes.
As Secondly, so we meet these three women who've been hired to ostensibly be Mrs. March assistants, but we know they're really being tried out to see which one of them can have her brain implanted into them, right?
Correct.
Did you notice they pronounced Nina's name as Nina?
Yes, Mrs. March says Nina.
I went into a long internet rabbit trail of this, but basically the name Nina can be found in many cultures going back literally thousands of years, and none of them pronounce it Nina. So it reminded me of an earlier movie where someone was talking to a character named Ramon and pronounced their name as Raymond. Do you remember?
Yes,
I think that was maybe Voodoo Island.
I think it might have been the Ghost Breakers.
It could have been that, yes. Yeah,
Yes.
You're right. So at any rate, and I don't think the actress who is ostensibly from Spain, I do not think she really speaks Spanish based on the handful of Spanish language phrases she says, which are not pronounced correctly. So
right.
Just throwing that out.
Yeah. The only convincing accent is Nina's, but it's a German accent, but it at least sounds genuine. So
yes.
Yeah. Even though she's supposed to be from Scandinavia. Anyway, but here we get a couple important things in this scene as they lay out the whole plot and plan. So first off, we get Chekhov's atomic-powered self-destruct mechanism introduced in this scene, where the doctor says, look, if the police come and find us, I have a mechanism here where I flip this switch and I close this breaker and this whole thing goes up in flames, which Mrs. March warns him about. But, Victor's sort of skeptical and Mrs. March is sort of defending Dr. Frank. So everything I just talked about, let's hear a clip of that.
The doctor transplanted a brain from a live dog to a dead human body. You saw the creature walk out of that cylinder alive.
How many failures since then? Still, it's your money. The bodies must be fresh. This specimen is excellent.
And the police are looking for the body statue.
Why the local cemetery, Doctor? Are you trying to blaze a trail to our door? The final test was essential for your protection. As for the police, if they come here, I hit this switch, a nuclear reaction is set off. Close the circuit breaker, and in a matter of minutes, this house and any evidence it might contain becomes a radioactive hole in the ground.
Be careful.
But we can wait for that until after your operation.
Well, nothing must go wrong.
So I have several things here. First of all, Victor and Mrs. March criticizing him for the holes in his plan. Have just neglected to mention that they posted advertisements for 3 women who are soon going to go missing. So, you know.
And so they have this kill switch, which will literally nuke the mansion if the police arrive. Like,
yes.
I've heard of people setting up like kill switches on their computer, which will like fry a hard drive or something like that if the authorities show up. I don't think one that nukes your house is like, they just need to think about this.
Yeah,
like,
that feels like that's
are
excessive.
they going to get out? Are they just going out in a blaze of glory? Like,
yeah, I think that's all here. Just like the lecture about organ transplants, the atomic power stuff is here just because it's a scary thing in 1958/1963, and they want to exploit the terror of that for sure.
Can we talk for a second? So I do think one of the more interesting relationships that this movie puts forward is the one between Mrs. March and her ostensible quasi-husband, Victor.
Yes.
And I genuinely think that the writers were doing something a little interesting with this. Both of them are old, and Mrs. March's plan, of course, is to be reborn into a youthful woman's body. Victor is in on this deal specifically because he's excited at the idea of having sex with a young woman instead of old Mrs. March.
Right.
And this movie, I think, is our first movie to just come right out and mention sex in the actual dialogue. Am I wrong about that?
You could be right. I haven't really had my eye on that, but you're probably right. And I think what's funny about that is also that's kind of Victor's whole motivation.
Yes, it is. It's his entire motivation through this movie. He can be manipulated through his desires to have sex with younger women, which the protagonists are going to try to use to their advantage. But I wanted to say, I mean, the interesting thing here is that Victor also has these moments of realization where he's like, when my old wheelchair-bound wife, who is described by many people in this movie as ugly, although I don't, that always seemed a little egregious.
Yeah.
When she's in the body of like a gorgeous young 25-year-old, she will have no use for me, because why would she want to hang around or sleep with like a gross 70-year-old lech, right?
Right. So yeah, it is a little interesting. But Victor has no nuance to him. How about that?
No.
So then we cut to a Pan Am flight landing at the airport, Boeing 707, maybe a 720. And we meet our 3 women who are sort of on a bench together. And they are Nina, B, and what's the Mexican woman's name?
Anita.
Yeah. So
are we going to call her Nina, or are we going to do what the film does and call her Nina?
I don't think I can call her Nina.
Okay, we'll call her Nina. Just know that the film does not.
Right. So 3 women, I think they say Vienna, England, and Mexico.
Correct. And Anita speaks almost no English.
Correct. And they meet on a bench outside the airport and connect as young women trying to figure out. And they figure out immediately, oh, we're all 3 going to the same place. Isn't that strange?
Yes.
Victor comes to pick them up in his station wagon, which looks enough like the Ghostbusters station wagon for me to
Yes,
check that it's not. The Ghostbusters one is a Cadillac hearse or Cadillac ambulance, and this is just a station wagon. So
can I just say the film describes these 3 women as, quote, the little Mexican, the girl from Vienna, and the buxom blonde.
Yes.
I think that is the narrator speaking.
That sums up. And then that is further exacerbated by the clip we're about to play. But I just want to say the thing that I thought here, so this is set in Hollywood, and the other parallel I made here is naive young women going to Hollywood thinking they're going to be movie stars and then having to take their clothes off in front of the camera, which is somewhat of an irony for this movie to do in particular. However, I think we got a little narrator here. So as they get into the car with Victor, after he picks them up, Victor looks so bored all the time, by the way. But anyway, as that happens, the narrator gives us this.
3 new bodies, fresh, live, young bodies. No families or friends within thousands of miles, no one to ask embarrassing questions when they disappear.
So when I say the music sounds like a cartoon, that's just a little sample of it there. It seems weird.
And when we first meet the women, especially I think Nina, they are walking in what I would describe as they are like sashaying across the airport while the music like keeps beat to it. So
yeah,
I mean this is a trashy film. Like,
this is trashy. For all the credit we just tried to give Mrs. March and Victor, it's a trashy almost immediately. So they get to the house. They all get different rooms. Anita screams almost immediately. I forget what she sees.
She saw the dog man.
She saw the dog man. That's right. And they're instructed by Mrs. March, like, you may not leave without my permission. And she sort of immediately pushes them around. And I think Anita and Nina, immediately thinks they've made a mistake.
Yes.
So now she shows them to their rooms. The music, I put a note here that the music sounds like the Flintstones.
Yes, it does. Yes.
They give Anita the worst room, which is really mean because the evaluation of these women is done very quickly by Mrs. March. And she's basically like, oh, Anita, you get the room in the basement because you are not my candidate.
But why? But what about her turned off Mrs. March?
I think she just finds her unattractive.
She has a birthmark on her back.
Yes. Oh, okay.
So It's interesting. I mean, so one or more of these women are here because they hope to have a career in Hollywood, and in their current career prospects as the assistant to Mrs. March, they are being crassly and misogynistically evaluated according to their appearance in exactly the way that Hollywood, I have to imagine, evaluates and discards women who don't meet their standards. So
right.
I don't know if the movie is trying to be smart here. I don't think it is, but yeah.
No, but that's what it feels like.
You didn't mention that they're standing in front of Mrs. March wearing only a towel, and she's using her cane to poke and prod their bodies.
Yes, which is part of the weird dynamic. Right?
It's gross.
It's Mrs. March. Yeah.
And Victor keeps coming into the room like to ogle them while this is happening. It's weird.
Yeah, but we start to move pretty quick here. So the first thing that happens is poor Anita, since she's been rejected, she becomes the next experimental subject. And whose brain does Anita get, Andy, in the lab?
So
we've got a dog man. What do we have now?
So Dr. Frank's experiments must continue. Dr. Frank has been shown to have had a pet cat.
Yes.
One whose name was credited on the poster of this film. So poor Anita, rejected because of her birthmark, is going to be the next experiment in transplanting not a human brain into a human body, but an animal brain into a human body. So Dr. Frank abducts her and transplants the brain of his, quote, favorite cat into Anita.
And by the way, he keeps the body of the cat around.
Yes, he does.
Which is going to be important later. And Anita starts acting like a cat, though physically she has lost speech. She starts acting like a cat. And Dr. Frank brings, first of all, they don't really go into how the brain transplant worked. It's just sort of like two people on a table next to each other. They suggest it's a physical transplant because at one point he's holding a brain.
Yes.
But there's no real surgery, like none of that, nothing that you would expect.
I was hoping for the film to go into some dumb but enjoyable detail about the mechanics of this, but it just does not.
Well, it can't because later it's got to put a human brain in a cat's body, spoiler, and there's
Yes.
no way that could possibly happen. So if they explain it.
Right.
The movie runs along pretty quickly here. So
yeah, can I just quick comment? So I don't know if this was standard for these films, but the dialogue of this entire movie essentially was clearly recorded separately from like the acting and was laid over the acting, and it results in some really a lot of scenes where it's really obvious that the dialogue is not the words that are coming out of the actors' mouths. So
what's funny about that is I just watched The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and it has a lot of people speaking Italian that are dubbed in English, but then it has American actors speaking English that do their own ADR, the whole experience is a little. It sort of detaches you from the film a little bit.
Yeah, it's just a slightly uncanny experience,
Yes.
I think, for modern film viewers. But
yes,
I think in this instance, Andy, if they're trying to fix the film and they only have the footage and the audio they have, they will take audio from something else and put it on the new footage to try and make continuity happen.
Can you imagine being assigned the footage of this film and you're like, you got to make this make sense?
Yeah,
man.
pull this together. Yeah.
Okay, carry on,
Yeah.
John.
So as we move on, they
oh, you know what? We forgot to mention something
Yeah.
earlier on, John, because it is a little important to the theme of this podcast.
Yes.
Early in the movie, we met one of
That's
Dr. Frank's failures, which was a beautiful woman, dead. It's her corpse, that he tried but failed to revive, and she came back mindless.
Right.
So she is brainless, and she is explicitly described as, quote, zombie-like.
That's right.
And because she just doesn't seem to have any will or anything, she's allowed to just roam around the laboratory at will. And this is going to become a little important later.
Yes, but she is our only sort of real zombie creature. We can discuss the merits of the other people brought back to life. But actually, I have a lot of thoughts about that when we get there. But
me too, yes. But carry on, burial us through the rest of this.
Yeah, so Nina, you've got me saying Nina now. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah.
She realizes that something's amiss. She tries to use the phone. The phone doesn't work. They're not allowed to leave. So as she realizes this, she explains to B what's going on. And then they come up with a plan. In that zombie-like woman, right, is wandering around. The dog man attacks her and gets chained up.
Yes.
And this is witnessed by the girls, so they have to stay inside. They realize they're stuck in here with the dog man. So anyway,
just to be clear, they're stuck in here. They've tried to quit a couple of times, but Mrs. March has said basically no. And interestingly, she uses their uncertain immigration status as leverage.
I know.
Which feels like a very modern sort of thing to do.
Mrs. March is mean.
I am sad to see this was people were being exploited in this way back in the 60s as well as the modern day. But they're trapped here because of their immigration status, and Mrs. March threatens to just report them, in some way to the authorities if they try to leave. But also on a more visceral level, there is a dog man chained outside the door that's going to kill them if they try to leave.
Yes. So the living corpse is wandering around, and the dog man assaults her, which is witnessed by the girls. The dog man that gets chained up outside. So they realize they've got a problem. And Nina gives this plan like, okay, we're trapped in here. Even if we could get out, how would we get out of here? They come up with a plan to steal the keys to the car from Victor.
Yes.
And they sound like Eureka, like this is what we'll do. So B realizes she can seduce Victor and get the keys. So this is what she then attempts to do.
Yeah. So this is more sexuality than we have seen in most of our movies to date. By the way, the plan is explicitly to seduce Victor, which is what B does.
However, there's a problem. There's a cat wrench in the plan. Anita gets loose and starts hissing at the dog man from a tree, and then B goes out to see what's going on and gets attacked by Anita, the cat woman, and gets her eye clawed out by Anita.
Yes. This is a pretty fun scene, honestly, because B climbs up onto the roof where Anita is like prowling around like a cat, right?
What happens first is there's like a gazebo kind of thing that Anita's on top of, and she claws out B's eye. So B goes to the infirmary in the basement, but then Nina chases Anita around on the roof because Anita's acting like a cat.
If it's not obvious, I couldn't distinguish B and Nina for this entire movie, so my notes just go back and forth. So.
Yes. So in any case, Anita, after a long, I put in my notes here, we've got 6 minutes of chasing Anita around, but she eventually just falls off the roof
and dies.
Yeah. And then we go down to the lab where B is being treated by the doctor. And here, I got a clip here because he explains what's going on scientifically, like as if it makes sense. But but also he gives his motivation. So we get the thing about this actor is he seems so square and so normal. So, but here we get his mad scientist motivation.
Yes.
And what's going to happen to B here.
B is a very lucky girl. You think that ironical? Let me explain. I'm the only man alive today capable of restoring your friend's sight. Dr. Alexis Carrel, who pioneered the transplanting of vital human organs, kept a portion of an animal's heart alive for many years. For this, he received the Nobel Prize. And I, who have so far surpassed his efforts...
Surely you don't want to compare yourself with Dr. Carrel. He was humane.
I, too, fight to preserve life and to find the means to improve the lives of future generations. Your viewpoint is that narrow, ignorant one, held by the medical society today, which forces me to work in a place like this, to give in to the whims of a foolish old woman, because she can supply me with the funds I need to continue my work.
I love that mad scientist speech so much. We heard it in Dr. Blood's Coffin. I'm sure we're going to hear it so many times in the future.
It's a classic. And further, I love how they get this square, straight actor who's just supposed to be like the normal guy, and they try to have him do a mad scientist speech, which is also great.
Yes.
We also find out at this point that he's keeping the eye alive.
Yes.
B's eye in like this atomic cage where he's also got somebody's hand and the dead cat.
Yes.
Right. So anyway,
can I just say,
yeah,
I feel very seen. I only have one eye, and right now as we record, I'm wearing an eye patch to hide like the gross empty eye socket of my other eye.
Uh-huh.
And I was just delighted to watch this movie and see someone going through, I don't know, a much more exciting version of my own life journey in the space of a couple minutes.
Yeah, B is bereft at her. At the loss of her eye,
and they have covered both of her eyes. Like she only lost one of them, but they've covered both. They've tied a bandana around both of her eyes, which is kind of funny.
It is a little funny, but she's so upset about this now. So the next 10 minutes of this movie is everybody shooting themselves in the foot.
Yes.
So first of all, Mrs. March says, like, Victor, if you're crazy if you think I'm going to keep you around when I'm a beautiful young woman after I've transferred my brain into her body, get out of here. And my first thought is, well, tell him later.
Yes, exactly. Just wait like 6 hours.
Wait a day until the transfer's done.
Right, exactly.
So he gets drunk. He spills the whole thing to Nina, but he makes her sign a contract. I don't really understand what that was for.
So the movie thinks this is really important, so let's try to suss this out.
But I don't know why. Yeah.
So she has signed over all of her wealth to Victor. Is that right?
Because Nina's now going to be the subject. I skipped the part where she made Nina try on a bunch of clothes because now Nina is the front runner instead of B because B has had her eye removed.
That's right. Yeah. So it is a theme that like as soon as you have a physical flaw, Mrs. March doesn't want you to be her new body anymore.
Yes.
So we're down to Nina, even though that wasn't the first choice.
So he has her sign a contract as her protector or guardian or something?
I think so.
Okay. But
something that can be legally exploited by Victor later, I guess, is the only important part of it.
Yeah, I think so. He's going to help her get out of there. They're going to get the car. She's going to get B. He's going to get the car. And then Miss March stabs him in the brainstem or something with a thin needle.
Yeah.
And he dies.
It's not like shown or anything, but like your imagination conjures us up with something that's kind of gnarly, I would say.
Yes. At which point Dr. Frank abducts Nina for the experiment. How do they do this, Andy?
Oh, yeah. Dr. Frank bursts in and they abduct Nina by smothering her with an ether-soaked handkerchief.
That's
just
right.
Just like in Dr. Blood's coffin.
Just like in Dr. Blood's, the famous 10-second chloroform, which we actually know takes 5 minutes.
So they we see her struggling more than modern movies show.
Yes.
So
slightly
we're still in the
more.
era where they like feel the slightest inclination to like towards realism. We know from our discussion of Dr. Blood's coffin, it takes 5 minutes of a continual inhalation to knock somebody out with ether. But in this case, we get a good 15 seconds.
Maybe she smokes. I don't know.
Yes, it could be. Yes.
Yeah. So in any case, they prepare the experiment. We've got Mrs. March on the table. We've got Nina on the table. And I want to play the other weird self-justification speech that in this movie, but it kind of speaks to what we talked about at the top. So this incredibly wealthy woman who is a villain and who is hatching this plan to kill 3 women delivers the following self-justification monologue.
You don't know what it's been like for me, living with this ugly body of mine. Knowing that any attention I received was not for me, but my money. Well, nobody got any of it. I've never known what it was like to be loved for myself alone.
What a bizarre speech. So first
Did
of all,
either of these villain sympathy speeches get you, John?
No, not this one for sure.
Yes, same.
Because she's also incredibly shallow. It's not for herself. It's somebody else's body, and she only wants it because it's attractive, which is not quite the same as being loved for your character or spirit. I think she's got that confused, which is fine.
Yes.
So we have the operation, and we do see him holding a brain at one point.
Yes.
But before they can transfer to Nina, Nina never.
So I liked this scene, genuinely, unironically, because he starts the procedure, but Nina wakes up partway through.
That's right.
He has brought her back out because Dr. Frank has his own agenda, which is what?
That's right. That's what I put in my notes. He suddenly becomes the villain of this movie. So what he does is he gets Mrs. March. He takes Mrs. March's brain and puts it in a cat. So, my cat has a head that is smaller than my own fist.
Yes.
And I don't think my brain would fit in my cat's head. I don't know if he selectively chose parts. Maybe Mrs. March is really old and so your brain gets smaller. I don't know. But
maybe you are just one of these people in the medical establishment that don't have any vision, John.
I don't have the vision to see how he could do this. But in any case, so
this is a great ironic fate for Mrs. March, by the way. This in our Tales of the Crypt Twilight Zone ironic bad guy getting their comeuppance. I really enjoyed this.
I actually originally I didn't want to do too many narrator clips, and the narrator here pipes in saying, "Isn't it ironic for Mrs. March to be getting her, going into the trash for her dinner or something along those lines?"
Yes.
However, Mrs. March, the cat, now the cat woman, the woman cat Xerxes.
And to be clear, it's like a cat.
It's
it
a
has
cat.
A human
it's not
brain
like it's a cat with a human brain. When Dr. Frank goes into the atomic chamber to prepare something, I don't even know what he's doing. She walks up to the controls that he explained at the beginning and locks him in and turns on the self-destruct mechanism, which is amazing.
It's so good. I'm sorry.
And he pops his head at the window to watch her do it in panic.
Yes. Yeah, it's fantastic.
And he gets skeletonized.
Yes.
It's great.
So Nina wants to escape. She wants to grab B. We do see B's eye for a second.
Yeah. So B comes down. Nina's still strapped to the table. B comes down. She's still got her eyes are bandaged, but she blunders her way down in the lab and she frees Nina.
Yes. And so Nina escapes. She's actually fine. I mean, she's traumatized, but she's fine. Yeah. She tries to get B to escape with her, but it doesn't work. B grabs.
What does B go back for, John?
She goes back for her eye.
Yes.
And whatever the atomic case it's in zaps her and she dies.
Yes. Tragic.
Yes. So Nina has to get past the dog man, which she does. She runs out into the night.
How do they get past the dog man?
I forget. He's
I
chained
think they
up.
just skip past it. And
I think they just skip past it. Yeah. And then she runs out into the night. The house explodes in fire, which is not how atomic explosions work, but that's okay. The cat escapes as well. And the end of the narrator tells us how this all ends up, or at least the future for Xerxes the cat, now Mrs. March, and Nina, who is still Nina somehow, but rich.
Mrs. March did not intend to let her money get out of sight. She would follow that girl. Sometime, someplace, revenge would come.
The end.
That's good. So
can we just in my own little head canon that this is that the maker of It Follows saw this film and it was like, that's it. That's the movie I want to make.
Exactly. So like, am I wrong though? I mean, is this our first it's finally over, or is it like horror movie ending?
Yeah.
I think it might be of the ones we've seen.
I think so. So
yeah.
Whew, that was quite a ride. It's as silly as it all sounds, and certainly MST3K worthy. Do we want to just jump into it?
Yes, let's do it. Let me pull up our wrap-up questions, John. John, in Monstrosity, is there a hero party?
I think the three women constitute a hero party.
Yeah, I think they make up a perfectly respectable hero party.
Yeah.
How do they do? How many survive?
Not so good. Only out of this whole group, only Nina and a cat with a human brain survive.
Yeah, so Anita gets a cat brain put in her.
And falls off a roof.
And B tries to go back like Lot's wife for her eye and is electrocuted. So only Nina survives.
That's right.
All right, so let's talk about the zombie or zombies in this film, John. First of all, who would you define as the zombie or zombies in this film?
This is a tough one. I think it's only the second subject, the corpse that was robbed from the grave at the beginning of the film, because I don't think they say they've put any brain in her.
Right. She specifically has no brain. She's just functioning by like just pure physiological instinct or something.
Now I would make a case also that the animal, the dog man, is kind of a zombie because he has that feral zombie vibe, and he's definitely dead and brought back to life. So I think it's important. Like the first couple of these creatures are undead.
Yes.
With different attributes.
So, and in fact, I mean, depending on how seriously you want to take the dialogue, I think what we are...
Andy, I don't want to take it seriously at all, but carry on.
You're in the wrong podcast then, my friend. So I think we learn... So the problem with Dr. Frank's experiments is that the brains decay too fast. So what he actually wants is a still living subject for the brain to be transplanted into.
Right.
So I do think we do kind of technically wind up with two different types of zombies. We have zombies that started as corpses.
Right.
That were reanimated in some way. And then we have the intended zombie of this movie was going to be like a living corpse, just bereft of its free will. Right. So, but I think the most true zombie is, the early in the movie corpse woman who's roaming around the lab and gets just unceremoniously killed by the dog man. That was like, what a dumb way to dispose of your zombie, but I don't know.
Yeah. So our two zombies kill each other, actually, which is a little weird. Yeah.
All right. So speaking of that, how are zombies destroyed or killed in this movie?
So in this movie, the zombies are not superhuman in any way, as far as I could tell. Like, I think the dog man just like kills her.
Yeah. I think he just mauls her or something like that. Yeah. Is the world threatened in Monstrosity?
I don't think so. I mean, there's crime going on here, but I don't think there's some master plan. I think after Mrs. March got her brain translated, she'd be happy to be done,
Yes, I think this is another story with a really hyper-local focus that's based on people's petty desires and grievances.
Exactly.
All right, let's see. What type of zombie strain would you say we're dealing with here?
I think we're dealing with science-created zombies. There's no mysticism here at all. They're just mad scientist zombies.
Yep. How fast are the zombies? Are they subhuman speed, regular human speed, or are they fast?
So they take on the attributes of the creature whose brain they have. So in the case of the woman with no brain, she lumbers around like a classic zombie, where the cat woman leaps around and climbs buildings and stuff. So they vary.
Yes. How degrading do you think it was to be the cat woman zombie in this movie? Just like,
even though the movie came out later, when we talked about The Frozen Dead, you made a comment about how there's two women cast, and one of them's like, well, you're going to be the lead, and you are going to be the head on the table. And I feel like the same thing happened here to Anita, the actress who plays Anita. Like, two of you are going to play attractive women who are fought over for their beauty, and you get turned into a cat person.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
All right, so John, let's talk about your 4 pillars of the zombie genre.
Yes.
John, in Monstrosity, is there an apocalypse?
There is not.
Is there contagion?
No, you have to it's a process. It's a whole thing.
Are there tough moral choices?
I don't think so. I mean, the villains just do villainous things again. They're not moral. And people like Nina and B do want to rescue each other and save each other. So there's no tough... Nina would have waited for B if B hadn't killed herself by trying to get her eye back. Yeah.
All right, lastly, are loved ones turning against you in this movie?
You could argue that Xerxes the cat turns on the doctor as a zombie cat.
That's true.
So technically, yes, but not in the intended spirit of the question.
You could also say that Anita,
yes,
it's a stretch to say that she's a loved one.
Right.
But she does, fight back in a cat-like way against B or Nina, whoever it is. Anyway, I don't really think that those count.
Yeah, I think I'd just like to point out at this point, I feel like, though we know, because we know the future in a sense, that 1968 sort of brings all these pillars together, and this is what we've been moving towards. I feel like they're further away, as far away as they have been at any other time.
Agreed.
In this podcast. I feel like in even 30s and 40s movies, we were like, hey, there's a little bit of an apocalypse here. Or did you see that zombie horde in the corner? Or, technically it was contagion. We could make those arguments, and there's none of that in the last couple movies.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Like, this is very far away. This is a weird little offshoot or something. Right. My last question, though, John, before I turn it over to you, is: did the movie poster sell this film accurately?
Yes, because it had a cat and some scantily clad women on it, and I think that's what the film is about.
And that's the entirety of the film.
Yes, correct.
All right, John, now it's your turn to ask me a couple questions, I think.
Yeah, so we're going to stick with our 1950s questions for one more week, even though we did come up with our 1960s questions last episode. But as this movie was made in 58, and actually before I knew that, I did put a note in my notes that said, wow, this feels like a throwback to the 50s. So we'll stick with those questions this time. So is paranoia a major theme? Hypocrisy, dark secrets, are those present in this movie?
Not really, except that there's some suggested setup for paranoia, and the idea that Mrs. March, that the beautiful woman you're talking to, might be a creepy old woman who transplanted her brain. But I can't say that this really hits those themes.
No. However, our movie here has changed. Are they younger, less professional?
So I will say yes on this one.
Yeah.
This does meet our 1950s guesses that we'd see younger, less professional protagonists. These are 3 women. They are young, and they are, they're vulnerable, right?
Yes.
They have uncertain jobs. They have uncertain immigration status. They are taking a crap job in the hopes of one day turning it into a better opportunity in the future. Like when we hear that one or two of them have plans for Hollywood, but they've got to start here at the very bottom rung, being assistant to this woman. And that feels on a par with what we saw in Man-Eater or Woman-Eater. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Where you had people, where films more willing to show just kind of degrading jobs that real people actually work in.
Yes.
So I'm going to say that's a yes.
Yep. Okay. How about science and sci-fi? Did they take on a new role in zombie movies here?
Well, I will say, so the film is clearly trying to hook into the excitement of medical transplant technology.
Yes.
It doesn't do it in any real interesting way except to say, ooh, what if this was weird and scary, you know.
Yeah, it does the same thing with atomic power, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And does we leave our local roots and move on to the broader world stage? I mean, no.
Well, this is a really American story, I think. And it is I would say it is a Hollywood story.
Yes.
This is a movie of, about wealth and beauty as kind of pop culture and specifically Hollywood talk about them.
Right.
That is, I mean, I'm being really generous to this film by saying it, but this is kind of a movie about the value we put on women and the way we assign that value based on their bodies.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, I will say that this has left its local roots. It has nothing to do with Haiti or voodoo or anything like that. This is a pretty Los Angeles sort of story to tell.
Yes. All right.
All right. So, John, I have a couple final questions as we reach the very end of this episode. John, would you and I survive in the zombie world of Monstrosity?
So we were talking about this last time, and I was told, I think rightly, that I'm not allowed to use the excuse that I'm not dumb enough to get sucked into something like this.
Yes.
So if we've set that excuse aside, if I was in that house and Mrs. March saw how useless I was, she would definitely order me killed by somebody. I would probably be an experimental subject.
It would, if Mrs. March were to poke and prod you, would she want to put her brain in your body?
No, I don't. I hope not. God. I mean, if it's, well, I don't know, is it between the three of us? Are we the three girls instead of Nina? Yes. Okay. I feel I like my chances a little better then, but there's no accounting for taste, I guess.
So I imagined that is just very interesting because I imagined that we would be the victor in this story.
Yes.
Right. So the real question is, if your wife could go into the body of like a 22-year-old, would she ditch you instantly or would she keep you around?
Yes, she would ditch me instantly. Yeah. There's no way that I come out that I survive here, that I make it out.
I don't think I make it out of this one, regardless of which character you imagine.
Yeah.
I am,
yes.
So.
Except for, I don't know, maybe the doctor even. I'd fall for it. You know, he thought he had all the power and he got killed by his own cat who had an old lady's brain in it. The problem with everybody in this movie is that they tell their plans to everybody else, but they still keep going along as if they hadn't just done that.
Yeah, they spill the beans like a little too early. Everyone does it, yeah.
He should have taken the brain and attached the eye to it and put it in a jar and left Mrs. March there. That would have been his way out.
That would have been, that's a good movie, yeah.
I would challenge the idea that would be a, quote, good movie, John, but, you know, that would... But, it would be a better movie. I think we'd agree.
How about that? Yeah.
Let's see, John. Is this a zombie movie or is this a movie with zombies?
It is a movie that barely has zombies in it.
Yes, I would agree. I will say the one traditional zombie it has looks and moves and acts like a pretty good zombie.
Yes.
Like I give it my seal of approval, but it has such a cursory role and it's just disposed of by the plot in such an anticlimactic way.
Yeah.
I've got to agree with you.
Yeah, I feel like we're treading water here on the zombie stuff in this movie.
Yeah. This is really more of like a Dr. Moreau's Island type of horror. That like the horror it's going for is Dr. Moreau's Island, not zombies. So
correct.
All right. And lastly, John, do you recommend this movie first as a general movie that everyone should run out and watch with their significant other on date night? And secondly, do you recommend this specifically to our legion of zombie-loving freaks that listen to this podcast?
I know you think this is a simple answer, but the way you framed it. So first of all,
I'm going to say I do think this is a simple answer, so I can't wait to hear what comes out of your mouth.
Are you trying to get your partner to dump you? Because if that's the case, then yes, you would want to watch this on movie night. Now, however, assuming that's not the case, no. Also, for zombie fans, no. However, there's a third option that you've forgotten, Andy. You should watch this movie on MST3K.
Oh, of course. You know, we may need to start adding that as a third option going forward. So,
yes.
What if, like, here is a Valentine's Day dare for you. Like, tell your significant other that you really want them to watch your favorite movie in the whole world, and then show them this and see what they do. Like, and then email us to tell us what happens.
Please, that'd be great.
From the divorce settlement as it plays out. So
yes.
Okay, I'm going to agree.
How about you, Andy?
Well, I don't even remember where you landed, but no.
But you could watch it on MST3K.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't watch this. no, it doesn't really give us anything new about zombies. If you like, there is a parallel podcast out there somewhere of Island of Dr. Moreau inspired horror.
That's our next podcast after this.
Maybe you would find some value if you like human animal hybrid horror, but that's the only niche audience I could ever recommend this film.
It is interesting that it's similar to the revived Monster, where it pulls in so many different genre tropes from different types of horror movies. That's the other film that has like a Frankenstein element. It has a mad scientist element. It has a zombie element.
And I think that movie had a lot more heart than this one does. It had sympathetic characters and all the stuff this movie does not have. But I see.
Would you say, do you think, based on the movies we've watched so far, do you think that by 1963, is there such a thing as a, quote, zombie movie yet?
It's interesting because there have been movies we've seen called The Zombies of Moratau and White Zombie. Like, the word is used, but they're all over the place. So I don't think so. Not quite yet, because the zombies are still everywhere.
In the 60s, I mean, if you saw the word zombie in the title of the movie or on the poster, would you have any idea what sort of film you were getting into if you went to the theater?
I think all you would know is it's a scary movie, because you could get what's the serial we watched with the Martian invaders?
Zombies of the Stratosphere.
Zombies of the Stratosphere. You could get this movie, or you could get Zombies of Moratau, and that last one does feel like what we consider a zombie movie. So I guess that my point still stands, is that I don't think it'd be a clear picture yet.
Yeah, I do. I think all it conveys is this is going to be like a scary or creepy film.
Yeah, I think if it conveyed anything, it was early on where it sort of had this voodoo implication. Now it really doesn't mean anything yet.
Oh,
it
that's
hasn't
interesting.
reformed, because it did have a meaning, right? Voodoo and hypnosis and all this kind of stuff. Now, you might think there's mindless creatures and stuff, but if you take Zombies of the Stratosphere, those aren't mindless. They're just aliens,
Yeah.
So I think it had a meaning. It's lost its meaning, and I think we're moving towards the new meaning in 1968.
Yes, that's a fascinating point, John. All right.
I do think, whether or not there are zombie films, I do think people know what zombie means. There is a consensus about a zombie.
Yes, that's true.
But all the movies called zombie movies don't share that much DNA yet.
Yeah. All right. So, hey, guys, it is time. We have finally reached the scariest part of every episode, and that is where producer Brad reveals to me and John what we will be watching for the next episode. So, John, do you want to quick prediction? Are we due for a good one or a bad one?
I am worried we're going to stick on a rough streak here. So let's find out.
I went into the 60s pretty excited and optimistic, but that is dimmed somewhat. So let's see what we got.
Well, the good news is we're going to 1964, so we're moving more into the modern age, if that means anything. And here's the poster for our next film. I'm pausing for impact.
Oh, dear.
Whoa.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
The incredibly strange creatures who stopped living and became mixed up zombies, which, by the way, is a musical. So,
okay. So just to be clear, is the name of this movie The Incredibly Strange Creatures Who Stopped Living and Became Mixed Up Zombies?
It is.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's describe this poster. The most prominent, there's two things on it. One is a big zombie looking head. It looks like a decayed corpse. One eye is closed and one eye is open and
glowing,
kind of gross.
Yeah.
And cavorting in front of it is a scantily clad woman in a yellow outfit of some sort.
She's a rockette. She's a dancer.
Is she? Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize if I just dissed the Rockettes, I guess. So we have a Rockette on this poster. And it says the first monster musical.
Yes. It says, see the dancing girls of the carnival murdered by the incredible night creatures of the Midway. See the hunchback of the Midway fight a duel of death with the mixed up zombies. See the first monster musical filmed in Terrorama and Eastman color.
The marketer in me is saying that is a little too much copy. We need to trim that down. We've lost some of the punch. But anyone, John, that you see as far as names or people involved that you want to call out? What is that picture in the bottom left? Is that a guy stabbing a woman in the face?
That's what it looks like.
It kind of looks like the Red Skull from Marvel with that big toothy grin.
That might be a zombie. That might be a serious zombie. It stars someone named Cash Flag, so I'm not familiar with Cash's work. It introduces Carolyn Brandt. Doesn't ring a bell yet. So I think this either started, ended, or did both to a lot of careers. We'll find out.
So this looks like a parody, right?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know anything about this movie. I haven't seen the musical. I don't know. I've never seen this movie before. Does it look to you like it's a satire of the genre?
I don't know because I've been aware of this movie, but I've never seen it, and so I don't know.
Okay.
The title does not make it seem serious to me.
No.
We have had two. Well, we have had more than two actually, but we have had two really blatant zombie comedy films.
Right.
We've had The Ghostbreakers, and we've had
Zombies
Scared
on
Stiff
Broadway.
And Zombies on Broadway. So we've had several comedies.
Yes.
If I were to guess, I think this might be our first like satire of the genre rather than like a vehicle for like gags.
Right. So we'll have to
I guess
see.
we'll see.
Yes. All right, I'm excited.
And this is the film Joseph Miskelly did the cinematography for. So the director from our current film, Monstrosity, worked on this one.
Wait, is this in color?
It's in Eastman color.
It
Look
says
at the bottom.
color,
Yeah. I got, sorry, I was overwhelmed by the Terrorama that I forgot about the Eastman color part.
What's happening in the top right of the zombie's head?
A zombie is abducting a woman, I think, or biting.
Okay.
I don't know, biting her
Just
on
like-
the top of the head. I don't know.
Whoever just like laid out this poster made some interesting choices.
Yeah,
but
it's
that's
kind
okay.
of psychedelic. The moon is like a green dot with swirls around it. It's a little
And that
crazy.
zombie that you pointed out there, he's wearing a tux similar to the dead one, that sort of frilly old style tuxedo.
Yes, yeah. So, all right. Well, it's on. We'll see you next episode for the incredibly strange creatures who stopped living and became mixed up zombies. You've been listening to Zombie Strains. We'll be back next episode to talk about another zombie movie. If you enjoyed our podcast, please take a moment to rate us in your podcast app of choice. Tell a friend. Follow us on Instagram at Zombie Strains. All of this helps like-minded people find the show. See you next time.